What if I told you one man ruled an entire city, not with laws, but with fear, power, and blood? Al Capone, the name that strikes terror even decades later. Scarface, the king of Chicago's criminal empire. His rise was nothing short of legendary, and his story isn't just about money. It's a brutal tale of dominance, violence, and a ruthless climb to the top of the criminal world. Born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1899, Capone came from humble beginnings. His parents, Italian immigrants, had nothing but hard work to give their children. But Al, growing up in the streets of a rough neighborhood, had different plans. By his teenage years, he had already dabbled in crime, petty theft, street fights, and the occasional violent altercation. But his fate would change when he crossed paths with Notorious, an experienced and cunning gangster who saw potential in Capone. Notorious wasn't just a mentor, he was a mastermind who would guide Capone into the world of organized crime. The two of them moved to Chicago, where Notorious would soon hand over the reins to Capone after a failed assassination attempt left Notorious near death. Capone didn't hesitate. He took control of the empire with both hands. Then came 1920, the year Prohibition began. Alcohol was banned in the United States, but the demand never wavered. People wanted booze, and Capone saw this as an opportunity like no other. He built a multi-million-dollar empire by smuggling alcohol into the city, running speakeasies, and bribing police officers, politicians, and even judges to protect his empire. By 1927, Capone was pulling in over $100 million a year. And he wasn't just running a criminal operation, he was running a city. The police couldn't touch him, and the public feared him. But Capone wanted more than money. He craved power. His empire wasn't just built on alcohol, it was built on fear and intimidation. One of the darkest chapters of his reign was the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929. 7 men, all from a rival gang, were brutally gunned down in cold blood, their bodies left in a pool of blood. The massacre sent a clear message to anyone who thought about challenging Capone's dominance. If you cross me, you die. It was a violent warning, and no one dared defy him. But even the most feared men can fall. Despite his power, Capone was not invincible. His criminal activities were becoming harder to hide, and the authorities were closing in. Ironically, it wasn't his murders, racketeering, or bootlegging that brought him down, it was tax evasion. In 1931, after years of investigations, Capone was finally convicted of tax fraud and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Capone's downfall wasn't just legal, it was personal. His health, already fragile from years of living a violent and dangerous life, deteriorated quickly during his time in prison. The syphilis he had contracted earlier in life went untreated, and by the time he was released in 1939, Capone was a shadow of the man who once ruled Chicago. The once feared gangster was now a broken, mentally deteriorating figure who spent his final years in isolation. Al Capone died on January 25, 1947, in Florida, at the age of 48, far from the power and glory he once commanded. His story, though, remains one of the most infamous in criminal history. Al Capone wasn't just a gangster, he was the embodiment of an era. A time when crime wasn't just a part of life, it was a way of life. He symbolized the brutal reality of the Prohibition years, where men like him built empires on the blood of their enemies. Capone's legacy continues to captivate the world. His name is synonymous with the dark side of the American dream, a man who rose from nothing to become one of the most feared men in the world. Yet, in the end, he proved a simple truth. Even the most untouchable kings can fall, and when they do, their empires crumble to dust.